All right, everyone. So I've noticed that the hot topic of discussion has been gems. A lot of people have been asking about my gem counter as well. And what I wanted to go over today is the gems that you can get on a consistent basis in 7 Deadly Sins Grand Cross. And that number is actually, as of me recording this, 13 through 22 gems per day. That is insanely generous. This game gives you a ton of free stuff, and I wanted to go over each and every way that you can end up getting those gems. Now, why are there two numbers as well, 13 through 22? Well, the first part of it is going to be 100% consistent. Like, these are things that are always going on in the game that you absolutely want to add to your list of things to do daily. And then the second part is going to be things that might not always be around all the time, but they kind of average out to, that number of gems per day. So let's get right to it and start off with, first of all, your dailies. Very important, and also important to note that if you guys are still newer to the game, your dailies might not be the same as mine. So just keep playing, keep going through the actual story, and eventually you'll get your daily tasks to catch up to where you will have 2 gems available to you to get through the dailies each and every day. So that's going to be 2 of the gems daily that you can get right there. Now moving on to the next one. This is a really important one and really easy to just accidentally forget about this. I've probably accidentally forgotten about this at least a few times, but make sure that you guys are checking your reoccurring, banner type events. Like right here in the events tab, there's always going to be stuff going on here, lots of things in addition to the gems, but there is going to be running consistently one of these events here that will give you 2 gems per day. It's either going to be like the Fight Festival, which is the one that we have going on now, boss battles, awakening equipment, something along those lines. But you always want to make sure that you're checking this, not only for those gems, but lots of other really useful stuff too. Like, I've noticed that the share for rewards extra dungeon key has been going on for ages now. So, lots of really useful stuff for your account that you can end up getting through this events tab. But that's another 2 gems per day. Now, the next one is going to be your Knighthood. So definitely make sure that you are in an active Knighthood, and make sure that you are checking in as well. Your Knighthood is going to hate you if you are somebody who is consistently forgetting to do this, and you're probably going to hate yourself as well, because you can actually end up getting a good amount of gems from this. So just go to your actual check-in. Importantly as well, the more people in your Knighthood to check in will get you better rewards, but I believe it's at 20 members checking in consistently is going to be the point where you unlock the gem, and then of course even more people is going to upgrade the actual gold chest that you get. Also importantly to note here, while I'm here, just as a side note, make sure that you guys are checking your shop and buying the things that you need to here, even though it's not gem related. Like I know I buy the stamina potions here whenever I can. There's also a lot of other useful stuff here, like pendants and whatnot, but definitely an easy thing to forget about that's got some really, really useful stuff for your account that you have access to right there. So that's going to be another gem each day. Now, the next one is going to be PvP. Now, this is huge and easily the most important thing on this first part of the list right here, because the number of gems that you can get weekly from PvP is, it can go all the way up to 60. Now, 60 is not really going to be extremely reasonable for most people, especially if you're newer, but you can definitely get to the point where you are getting, 40 to 50 gems here, and you'll see in normal PvP, 60 is going to be at Champion 1. Once you do get to Champion, you're going to lock up at least 50 gems per week. Guaranteed, you will never drop out of the Champion rating in unranked PvP or ungeared PvP. But even if that's too difficult, getting 42 gems in Master, at that point you could still fight all the bots in the arena, so you should be able to climb up even if you don't have the absolute best units. Getting there should absolutely be in one of your priorities to lock up all those free gems per week. So that's going to actually average out to about 7 gems per day. Maybe even a little bit more. It goes up to about as high as 8.5, but I'm going to say 7, knowing that, of course, not all people watching this are going to be in Champion, or even getting close to Champion 1, which is that 60 gems per week. So we'll use 7 as the average for this one right here. And of course, another very important one is going to go back to the tavern here, and it's just quite simply going to be your login rewards. When you talk to Elizabeth, now, there's going to be 2 sets of these going on a lot of the time, where you've got your just regular, plain old login rewards that reset each week, and that's the one that I'm talking about, not this one right here. And then the other one, of course, is the event login rewards. But these will reset every 7 days. You've got your guaranteed SSR ticket there. But on day number 2 and day number 5, you do have 3 gems each. So that's a little bit less than 1 per day. And when you add all the stuff up that I've talked about so far, you are looking at 13 gems per day. Now, the reason why I said the number 22 is because now everything else on this list is a little bit less set in stone. Like the stuff I talked about, it's always there. It's always stuff you should be doing, and you definitely want to add it to your list of things that you do in-game. This other stuff is a little bit different. You guys will see what I mean by this, but it's still really important that you maximize all of this because it does add up to a good amount of gems. Alright, so the next thing is going to be your free daily draw, and you can see why this one was a little bit more complicated. Not really adding it to that first list is because it's technically not gems, but it's something that you get access to each day that is worth gems. And I didn't even count it as 3 gems, because if you had the gems yourself, you could actually choose the banner that you decided to use them on, whereas this one, it's a free draw, but it's locked in on this particular banner right here. So, you know, you can value it a little bit less, but it's, I would say, at least worth 2 gems each day just of free summons. So make sure you do that. You do, of course, have to watch the ad, which can be a little bit annoying, but I would still say absolutely worth it. Even if you're, you know, doing something else while the ad is actually playing, that's totally fine. You know, I don't care about that. So, you know, do what you got to do, but make sure that you are getting this free summon each day. Now, the next thing is going to be really important that you keep your eye on, because it's actually going to be the maintenance and mailbox events. We actually have one going on right now where we're getting 5 gems each day. Now, obviously, I'm not going to count that because this is not going on all the time, right? But when you take it all and kind of average out, including the actual maintenance gems that we get, you're looking at about 1 gem per day or so. Might even be a little bit more, but I always like to stick to conservative numbers just to kind of be on the safe side. But especially if you guys are watching this video right when it's released, you're looking at 5 gems per day while this is actually happening. But keep an eye out, because a lot of the times you actually have to reset your game for this stuff to show up. Like, you might get the little pop-up, which happens to me all the time, but I have to restart my game for the rewards to actually show up. Next up is actually going to be going back to Elizabeth, and that is the login rewards, but this time it's specifically the event login rewards. These ones right here. And of course, you might be watching this video in the future when we don't actually have an event login reward going on, which is why I didn't include this in the first part of the list, is because this is not 100% set in stone. We also don't always know what the rewards are going to be, but they're usually pretty decent, and it averages out to probably about, you know, half a gem to 1 gem worth of goods, sometimes even a bit more, but you know, some additional free stuff that the game is going to throw at you is always nice. Alright, next up here is going to be not that login reward, because we already talked about that, but it is going to be other events and temporary content. Now, great example, of course, of this is the slime events that we actually have going on right now, where we have an event shop with lots of stuff. But I'm just talking about any kind of temporary events like this. They are going to pop up. These are unfortunately things that, again, they're not set in stone, which is why I didn't include this in the first part of the list. But you absolutely want to make sure to maximize this content when it is actually available. Not just for the actual gems, but for all the other really useful stuff as well, like the pendants, lots of SSR pendants, SR pendants, really, really useful stuff that you can end up getting from these type of events. I know we had another one as well where you could just straight up buy something, I think it was 20 or 30 gems just from the event shop directly as well. And don't forget that with these temporary events, you also have the actual first time gem rewards for clearing out the content as well. So it actually adds up to be a pretty decent amount. We'll definitely be getting many more of these in the future. So it does actually average out to about 1 gem or so per day of, you know, inconsistent gem rewards. Next up on the list is going to be really, really big, a huge way to get that first burst of gems when you get into the game, but of course it's going to slow down, and that is going to be your story content. Lots of first-time rewards just by going through. You'll see it everywhere. You know, you won't see it on my account, of course, because I've already cleared out all of the first-time gem rewards. But if you guys are still newer, it adds up to actually be an insane amount of gems just from your first-time rewards. Going to the actual quest menu here, seeing the, you know, quest rewards. it adds up. Even the, just going through and maxing out your friendship, you get some pretty good stuff. And of course, don't forget about the 30 gems that you get by maxing out your towns as well. All this stuff piled together, it's a big burst. That's why I didn't include this, of course, in that first list, is because this is not 100% set in stone consistent, but it does actually average out to a good amount of gems. And I'm going with a conservative number here of 2 gems per day, because obviously as the game is out for a longer period of time, the content is not coming out in that same way where we got a big burst of it when the game came out. So it's going to slow down. I could have easily gone with the number like 3 or even 4, but I think 2 is a bit more conservative, kind of factoring in the pace at which we're going to see content come out in the future, but still a really, really big part of the large number of free-to-play gems that you get. Next up on the list is going to be your achievement gems. This is also huge, just like the story and the towns. Huge burst of gems, especially when your achievements are not actually in the crazy numbers like they're starting to get to me. I'm at 7,000 plus achievement points, so it's getting more and more difficult. But earlier on, you're still getting a really large number of gems. It's a lot easier to have this achievement bar fill up. It's a lot easier to just get the achievements overall. And not only are you getting these actual gems from filling up your achievement point reward bar, but there's also a lot of achievements that straight up just give you gems themselves. You could see, just as an example, player rank 72, which we obviously can't do right now, but there's a really, really big burst of them with boss battles. Lots of boss battle type stuff here gives you a ton of gems. So if you guys are newer, make sure to keep an eye on this, because just like the story content and towns, this is a huge burst of gems for free-to-play players. So in the end, you're looking at about 2 or so gems per day, averaging it out from the achievements. And again, this is also a conservative number because it's obviously going to start off a lot higher than that, but as you play the game more, those achievements are going to be harder to get and it's going to get lower. But conservatively speaking, we're still looking at about 2 or so gems per day from that. Now, the last thing that I wanted to mention here, I didn't even count it even as a single gem per day because it's not going to be quite that much, but it's still something you absolutely want to keep your eye on, and that is going to be these events right here, where it says battle event above special dungeon and equipment, because like right now we have the Hawk's coin pouch going on, and you get a lot of other really good stuff like the actual achievement points that give you the SSR pendants, gold, but completing this is also going to give you a couple of gems as well. So definitely keep your eye open on this. Really easy to accidentally forget about it, especially considering that the red exclamation point has been permanently active since the slime collab for these top ones here. So don't forget to check that as well. And a couple little ending notes here are, first of all, everything that I mentioned was free to play in this video. That is not how I got all of the gems that I have in my gem counter. Obviously, I have spent money on the game. It's not probably been as much as you think, but what I wanted to do in the future is really focus on the non-free-to-play. Like, if you do decide to spend money, there's really important things that you want to make sure that you prioritize before others in terms of the value that you're actually getting for the money that you spend. And I always make sure to get as much for my money as I possibly can. And that's another way why I was able to maximize what I did spend to get the gems that I do actually have. So maybe that'll be another part coming in the future. Definitely keep an eye on it. And the last thing I wanted to mention is this video was really strictly about gems, but there's a lot of other really important free stuff that you get in this game, like stamina potions, which are honestly maybe even just as important. I mean, it's hard to say because gems are always number one, but they're definitely close in terms of how important they are, and still you get a ton of it for free. So lots of other stuff to talk about in the future. If you guys have any video requests or anything like that, please feel free to let me know. But I am going to call it here for today. So thank you very much, everyone, for watching. I hope that you enjoyed. And if you did enjoy this video and you want more videos like this in the future, consider subscribing to the channel. Feel free to leave a quick like as well. It means more than you can imagine. And more 7 Deadly Sins Grand Cross Global videos should be popping up on the screen right about now. Feel free to check them out. But if not, until next time, take care, everyone. This is Salt of the Salty Guild, signing out.